Hello and many thanks for joining us. The program is Security Focus. My name is Ifanaya Amafili. And as usual, we talk about security issues in the studio. One of the least recognized agencies, security quote-unquote agencies in the government services is usually the fire service. However, it's also one of the most important agencies that people take for granted. So with me, I have the pleasure of having with us in the studio the fire chief, Director of Anambra State Fire Services, Engineer Martins Agbili, popularly known as Agility. So many thanks for being with us in the studio.
Thank you so much. Let me use the opportunity to say thank you to you for giving me this opportunity.
No, the pleasure is ours.
Talk about fire and security and equally to sensitize the public and in the Anambra.
Okay, before we start the real questions, why do they call you Agility? Let's start with that, first of all. Then I'll also commend you. I know I've gone through your profile. You have so many awards that are coming. I know the most recent one is going to be tomorrow from the Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria. I know you also have another one, a lifetime achievement from the Safe Nigeria for Excellence Hall of Award, which you also won last year. But I think it was a different Torchbearer Award for 2017. So congratulations for putting Anambra State on the map in terms of fire safety.
Thank you
so much. But back to the question, why do they call you Agility? Yes.
Sincerely, I wouldn't know why, but from what they say, that I'm agile.
Okay.
That I'm strong.
Okay.
I can't be broken easily. That every now and then, whenever I'm called upon anything, they will see me and I don't get tired. So they decided to call me that. And again, some of them that they're calling me Agility is gotten from my surname or last name, which is Agbili.
Okay.
So they decided
so Agbili now becomes Agility. I still don't see. I think I prefer the first explanation. You're agile, you're ready to work. And fire service, it's one of the least recognized institutions in Nigeria, but one of the most important because once there's a fire outbreak, you can lose everything in a twinkle of an eye.
Sure.
So basically through this program, we're talking about emergency responses, the disaster management. Let's start with a simple first forward question. What is it the fire services does?
Thank you so much. It's just a very simple one. Fire service the duties and responsibilities to save lives and properties and to render humanitarian service. And to crown it all, equally to do sensitization, which is equally part of what we are doing today in terms of fire prevention and the disaster risk assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Disaster risk assessment. When we want to talk about disaster risk assessment, I know management and assessment of disaster is like trying to ensure that the disaster doesn't happen before it happens.
Yeah.
So during the course of this program, we're talking about different kinds of fires. I know last week, I think there was a collaboration between your agency and DPR, where you had gone round to view certain filling stations. I know 2 filling stations were also shut down in part of this disaster management assessment.
Yeah.
How does the fire service come into issues like disaster management in... Let's start with the filling stations before we go down.
Thank you so much. You see, when we talk about disaster management, because we are in fire service and the fire department basically do everything in fire risk assessment. That is our job. And
what risk assessments?
The risk assessment is trying to prevent it from occurring.
Okay.
Those important things, those measures you take.
Okay.
You will find out through the risk assessment, we'll be able to ascertain those important things that needed to be done. And once you'll be able to do this, then after the report which we are going to send to the person, then you'll be able to know these are the do's and don'ts, these are the things you've already done, these are the ones you are supposed to do, at least now to prevent fire from occurring.
So talking about the filling stations when your collaboration with DPR.
The DPR,
yes.
Even before now, fire service have been working with the DPR.
Okay.
DPR cannot finish their job without fire service.
Okay.
That is where the fire inspection comes in, and that is even when we talk about the fire risk assessment. And before the DPR issues their final approval, the fire service own must come in. That is where we talk about the fire safety certificate, which we will issue to those people that are certain that the environment and everything they're going to use is fire safety free.
So as a standard rule for anybody to open any filling station,
anywhere. There's no only filling station, the gas plant, the lubricants, all of them. And so all of them, all those petroleum products.
So anything related to oil and gas. Before
fire service must come in.
Must give a certificate.
A certification. We must have to certify.
What are the things you look for to certify? Is it the location? What are the things you look for?
The major things are we look at the environment. Yes, we look at what we call the fire safety design. From the drawings which the engineers or the architects they draw, we have to look at it to make sure that the fire safety design is inculcated in the drawing. What are we looking for inside for the fire safety design? We are looking at the installations, basically those ones that affect fire. Then we'll talk about the installation of the fire hydrant. We'll talk about the installation of the smoke detector fire alarm. We'll talk about the hydrant. We'll talk about the sprinkler. We'll talk about the hydrant. Then there's what we call fire hose. All those things must be there, and particularly the fire extinguishers. It's not just having them. The locations where you have to install these things matters as well. And again, with the fire safety design, we are equally looking at the environment towards fire service attending to the fire, their responsiveness. That is to say, where fire service is going to stop their vehicle or their truck
in case of any emergency.
If it happens, especially for markets, especially for markets, it's supposed to be fire service must have to have a way, a particular way which they are going to operate through the market.
Now, it's a good thing you brought up markets, because those are the things I want to say. There have been incessant markets in Nigeria, not necessarily restricted to Anambra State alone. And markets fires are usually one of the worst in the sense that the number of people in that environment are always large numbers, either the owners of the markets or people shopping in the market. You also have the loss of millions of naira.
Combustible material.
Exactly. So they catch. Now, combustible, I'll ask you about that. But like you said, for the oil and gas industry, they need to get a certificate before they're able to start to work. Does the same thing apply with market stores too? Like when the government is building markets or private individuals are building markets, do they also need to get that certificate? They have to, service? Especially
when we're talking about referring to high-rise buildings. The public buildings, the government buildings, they're supposed to obtain that. And in this case now we are working with the Fiscal Planning Board, Anambra State Fiscal Planning Board. When you go to them, before they will give you the final approval to start the construction, they have to refer you to fire service.
Has it always been like that, or is one of the things
it has been like
because
that?
I'm saying this proudly, but before your tenure, the fire service, nobody has really ever had. I know I've spent like several months trying to get you on this program, and that's because you've always been busy, which I love, But I always get updates. From you in particular, like, okay, this is what we're doing now, this is what we're doing now. And before then, there was really no visibility in the fire service in Anambra State. So now that you're working with the Fiscal Planning Board in ensuring that marketplaces, DPR, ensuring filling stations, and now you're talking about high risings, which are also private owned houses. The fire service must be consulted for things like this to implement.
In fact, I must have to tell you, because recently we had a meeting between the AGDA, which is Oka Capital Development
Administration,
Then the Fiscal Planning Board was equally there. The environment, they were there. We had this meeting. But then I must have to tell you, this time around, in fact, everybody is working towards the safety of Anambra. And what we are doing as well, everything boils down to fire. Every now and then, there's nothing you can do. Finally, we can lead to fire, whichever way you want to say it. So all these things now boils down to fire service must be there before the final thing will be done. So Fiscal Planning Board are working seriously now to engage fire service. The AGDA, which is Oka Capital Territory Development, is equally working towards engaging fire service in everything they're doing.
So whether it's a public building
fire service is
or a private building, fire service must get involved in ensuring the lives and safety of people's properties and of course lives in the long run.
Another thing is it's not just fire. We can equally talk about building collapse. Yeah, because
does the fire service come involved in that?
Yeah, you know why we are involved in building collapse? Because most of the time you find out that our men, the firefighters, they die under a collapsed building while fighting fire.
Okay,
it has happened seriously several times in Anambra here, and most of our men were affected. Okay. So we look at those things, we get involved, and that is why when you come inside fire service, it's not just fire officers or firefighters. So we have engineers there. We have all engineers, civil, mechanical, electrical. We have builders as well.
In the fire service. So it's not just like the layman like me who will see that it's only those that are holding hoses and fighting for water than the fireman.
Fire service has gone beyond just fighting fire.
Okay.
It has gone beyond that. A lot of things are involved.
Okay.
So that is why when you come in there, you see professionals as well, which belongs to different professional bodies. And they are engaged in fire service work.
Okay.
So it's not, and all of them, they can fight fire. They can go into the fire as well and fight because you are being trained to do that.
So irrespective of their professional calling, whether you're a civil engineer, an electrical engineer, you're also mandated or trained to fight any kind of fire.
Yes.
I know there are various kinds of fires. There are gaseous fires, and then there was something you call combustible materials in the market.
Yeah.
What's the difference with the different kind of fire? And is it the same approach that you would use for fighting fire, or because of the material determines the kind of approach you use to put out that fire?
Yes, we have different kinds of fire, classes of fire. We have class A, class B, class C, class D, class K.
I should write all of that. So A to D, then K, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So A, B, C, D.
K.
What does that mean? A, B, C, D.
The first one, class A, are free burning materials.
Which is what?
Which are the peppers, the cloths, the wood, plastics.
Okay.
The free burning materials. They can easily catch fire.
Yes.
Then when you talk about that of B, the B are flammable liquids.
Like
flammable liquids, when you talk about kerosene, petrol,
okay, I'm not
diesel,
so bad.
The candle wax.
Candle wax is a flammable liquid?
Yes.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
So now the class C are liquefied gases. The liquefied gases, when you talk about the cooking gas itself.
Oh, that's different from the petrol and kerosene.
Yes.
So cooking gas is also a liquefied gas.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you talk about the ethane, methane, and the rest of them. For those of them that do chemistry, they will understand this. Then we don't have E.
Yes, you said from D, then we go to K.
Yes, we don't have E. But I will tell you one thing, people refer something as E, but it's not E.
What is the alleged E?
Let me jump it and go to K.
I will
still come back there. The K are just fatty oil.
Like what?
Yeah, we'll talk about the granules oil, these fats.
Okay.
So those ones are classified
cooking oil.
Yeah, cooking oil.
Okay.
Then the E, people refer it as E, the electrical fire. Because it starts with E, but it's not.
But it's not really a class.
No, it's not a class. The reason is this now, anything that can cause fire in every building or in every building, the first thing you do is to switch off the control switch.
Whether it's an electrical fire, whether it's a liquid fire.
Then you switch off the control switch.
Okay.
If it started from the electricity, then it's either you call the people authority, which is the EEDC, call them once they switch off, or you go to the control switch off.
And then switch it.
That particular thing at that moment turns or joins any of the classes of fire.
But switching off the main source of electricity helps in containing whatever
so
fire that
whatever you are fighting now will now lies on any of these classes of fire which I've already mentioned.
Okay, it's a good thing we're talking about different kinds of fire, and I'm happy you mentioned like gas, because I want to ask DIY, do it yourself. What is it that citizens can do when they have incidences of fire in their houses, like small fires that you and I know can become big fires? Some people I've seen videos of people that have had gas explosions in their homes. There's something you just said, if it's whatever fire you have in the house, the first thing to do is like switch off the mains from the electrical points. Yeah. So for some DIYs, what would you advise in the Anambra to do if they have fire and a small fire outbreak before your men get to the rescue point?
Yeah. The first thing is that this is your fire extinguisher.
Okay.
That is why it's very important to be in every home. The fire extinguisher we're talking about, that we have the types of fire extinguishers. We have the DCP, which is dry chemical powder. We have the CO2, which is carbon dioxide.
Yes,
then we have the chemical foam. We have the water gas. But this time around, the DCP, which is dry chemical powder, is general purpose fire extinguisher.
Which is what everybody is expected to have in their house.
But if we are using cooking gas, which is in the kitchen, then we equally advise you not getting only DCP. You have to get CO2 to be in the kitchen. Carbon dioxide. Yes.
So your advice for everybody is make sure that every house, because I know that most people in Nigeria especially always have a fire extinguisher in their car, not necessarily because they understand the relevance of it, but because they're more afraid of the road safety. You know what I mean? They're more afraid of the road safety marshal stopping them or VIO stopping them and asking them for their fire extinguishers, amongst other things that they will ask for. I don't think we have that awareness that every home, every hospital, every school, every marketplace should have a fire extinguisher in their house, which is the first response before you get there. What kind of sensitization are you doing to create that kind of awareness that vehicle owners now have to put that in their cars? And to make sure they have it in their house.
Sincerely, fire service, Anambra State Fire Service in particular, we've been trying. I must have to blow that trumpet. Yes, we've been trying. We've been giving out our best. And equally we'll be calling upon the general public as well to assist us. What have we been doing? We've been trying to reach out to people through sensitization, fire safety sensitization, which ABS have been assisting all this while, and there's some other
media houses.
They've been doing that. And what do? We every now and then we go to radio, television, newspaper, we'll talk about fire. Then it's just left for people to, those of them that are listening to radio or television, because I must tell you, even the one we are doing now, a lot of people are not even listening to it.
You'll be surprised. We'll open the phone line now and you'll see how people respond. But I understand what you mean. It doesn't cover as much houses as much. That
is why we've decided to go extra mile. At least now to reach out to the public. One, we use the school. We are trying to equally involve the government to see if they can give approval to for fire safety to be introduced into the school curriculum.
That's a very good idea.
Which is catch them young. From there we can teach them, just like we have moral instruction in schools. Then we can have maybe 1 hour, 2 hours for every school now to get that done.
What about before getting to the curriculum? Do you have a fire service club? I
am coming to that. I'm coming to that.
Okay, great.
From the school, we don't just want to call it fire service club or fire safety club. We are tagging it safety club. Because in every safety, fire safety is one of the major parts of safety. We have different safety. Then fire safety is there. So once we have this, we can now train them. Once we train them, then become that the trainer. They can always talk about even the teachers there. They can now help to teach the children or the students at any time. Then apart from that of school, we are equally doing this. We've initiated something which we started carrying on gradually now, which we call community-based firefighting.
Yes,
the community-based firefighting.
So how does the community come in fighting fire?
We want to decided to work with Anambra State Association of Town Unions, where you have all the PGs in the 177 communities in Anambra State. Then the what do you call them,
the E-grades.
All the work, we are equally involved. We want to work with them as well. But the essence of this is getting down to the grassroots, telling the people that this is what fire safety is.
So how do you want the community to come in?
The community, like we will discuss with them, we want to use the already made platform, which is the Vigilante.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the Vigilante, what they will be doing for us is this now. We'll now get them, train them on preliminary firefighting and the fire prevention and fire safety management. Then they will be aware of it. Once there's any fire incident in the community, what they will do before the arrival of fire service, they will go in. They will now hold on for us to come. It's not only that, providing security for firefighters as well.
On the general, I'm not restricting to Anambra State.
I can understand what they're saying.
We've never had a fire response where you can say, okay, if I call the fire service, in the next 15 minutes, I'm sure that, and you and I know that 5 minutes is a lot for any fire to create a massive damage. So, but the impression is that, okay, when anybody calls the fire service, it takes them like an hour, 30 minutes,
I can't accept that.
Well, but you understand that the general response is that the fire...
let me tell you.
I'm not saying...
I know it's a general thing.
Exactly.
I am not
So why do we have that?
Let me be sincere to you. Let me tell you this. The truth remains. A lot of factors are involved when you talk about fighting fire.
Okay.
The number one is this. The time of call is very important in whatever we are doing. The fire starts now. In 2 minutes, it has spread to other parts of the places.
Absolutely.
When you are talking about 5 minutes, 5 minutes is a very long time.
Absolutely.
So now, the fire is not in the fire service station. It's not burning in fire service station. You have to move. At least there's no fire that will start. You will not take up to 2 minutes, 5 minutes to get
to the location,
to the scene.
Okay.
Now, calculate this yourself. It will take you at least as long as 5 minutes for you to get to the scene of fire. Now, when did this fire started? Has it not lasted up to 5 minutes before? Then by the time we get to that place, it must have gotten to 15 minutes. If I have a video clip now, I'll show you so that you see how fire spreads. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, it has gotten all over.
The bottom line is that
now,
time is of essence.
I want people to understand this. Fire outbreak doesn't wait for anybody.
Absolutely.
It doesn't wait for anybody, even firefighters.
Absolutely.
And they should understand that wherever there is fire outbreak, there must be damages.
And it would spread.
There's no two ways about this. There must be damages. What fire service is coming to do is just assistant to not to allow it to continue to spread. But for it to have damage something, it must have damage depending on the time of call. Then another thing is this, traffic.
Okay.
Traffic is another factor. Now, from the fire scene to the closest or nearest fire station, it's another problem. Let me be sincere to you.
I know we have nine fire stations in Anambra State.
Yeah.
Are they all functional?
Yes.
I mean, compared to the number of local governments, that's also...
Of course, it's not enough.
Distance. Exactly.
It's not enough.
Yes.
But that is not the issue.
Okay.
Because it's not enough, we have 9 fire stations. There are 5 other ones that is under completion.
Okay.
The government is working towards that to make sure that they finish it. Then, even at that, it's not yet what? Enough. But the little we have, we make use of it.
Okay.
Now, the distances are very much. Okay, let me take for instance now, a fire station is at Colombia. Then what do you talk about those of them living at Urumba, South Urumba, North? You understand? It's a far distance. Now we have fire stations in Oka. Then what do you talk about those of them living at Oka North? That's Ubeni and the rest of them. Do you understand? Now you have at Onitsha, situated or sited at the main market, the Oboko and so on. What do you talk about those of them living at 3 areas?
So then no matter what, the distance is not helping.
It's not. That is what we are saying.
Hindering.
People don't understand this. They don't understand it. What they know is this: there's already fire break. Our fire service should be there. Even overseas, let me be honest. We must have to be honest to ourselves.
Okay.
Even overseas, if there's fire break, of course, these people must alert fire service.
Absolutely.
Fine. There's no way fire service cannot disappear to appear at the fire scene. They must have to drive to the fire scene. And even before they get abroad, it must damage something. What you're telling me now is this.
Because there have been instances, not Anambra also, but there have been instances that the fire service does arrive at the scene. Yeah. And then either they're struggling. I think there was a video that was circulating around once.
I know.
And that's happened in Anambra.
Using pure sachet water?
Yes.
Let me
and even when the fire truck got there, people, the trucks, the person there couldn't you remove the hose and try and attend to the fire.
No, I still have the video clip in my phone.
Okay.
I have it in my laptop as well. Let me be honest with this. I've already talked about this, both social media and even television and radio stations.
Okay.
Let me be honest with us on that scene.
Okay.
Yes, there was a panic, even on that firefighter. But I must tell you the reason. People may not really know the reason. But let me not go there first. I will still come back to it.
Okay.
Now, you see, that fire incident, because at a time I have to move in, I went to the fire scene. I disguised myself to get to the fire scene. Because of what? Mob action. Now, when I got to that place, I tried as much as I can to get the phone number of the owner of that building. When I came back, I have to call. Do you know? What we'll be asking, when was the time of the call? The owner of the building, where it started, is not the owner of the building. The opposite of that flat is where the owner of the building lives.
Okay.
I have to call. He told me the fire started 9 a.m.
In the morning.
What
time did they call you?
That is where I'm coming to.
Okay.
I didn't tell him when we were called. I only asked him, when did this fire started? Mm-hmm. He said 9. I said, okay, look at it. The first call came to fire service. 9:50 a.m.
Which is 50 minutes long after the fire had started.
9:50 a.m. I'm putting him, I don't want to call his name.
Please don't.
Do you understand?
Yes.
But I'm putting him direct.
Mm-hmm.
9:50 a.m. Now the first call came to a wrong closer station. Okay. Now those ones, now we are in another fire scene, and they called the closest one, which was the one you saw.
Okay.
That tanker you saw. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you one thing. Firefighters suffers a lot, especially at Onitsha area. Any fire break, before they move, they pray to God for survival as well.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Well, that's terrible, because you're going. So why do you think they have that kind of response?
Let me tell you, that is why, that is the essence of desensitization. They don't know. They believe once fire starts, every fire service must be there. Now, these people are getting to the scene. Let me be honest, we are human beings. We are not spirits. We are just like those people there.
Of course, yes.
So by the time they get to the point, in fact, they are afraid.
First, not the fire. They're afraid of the people.
Afraid of the mob, the public, those people. They're the crowd.
No, that's not. That's
no.
not good.
I am good. So it's not good.
Yes, that's not good.
So
it's
before you move, we move in the night.
Yes.
We move in the midnight.
So you're first thinking of your life.
Before you go, you start asking yourself: are you risking your life for these people? Who, by the time you get, sometimes you don't get to the point of fire, they started throwing stones.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my.
And let me be honest with you. Okay. Once they tell me that, sometimes I will ask them, turn and go back.
Yeah, because you must protect the lives of
they
your
can't risk
people.
their life. They have families.
Yes.
Those people you see.
Yes.
Their husbands, their wives. Those people fighting the fire. They are coming to assist you. They are not the one that put the fire. Then you cannot welcome them.
Now, before the calls come in, insurance. Are the firefighters insured?
Yeah, you see, because we are under the state government here. There's a general insurance for all the public or civil servants.
But there's no special insurance.
No special insurance.
But I think for what you do, there should be. So the fire service, not necessarily Anambra State, pushing for. Like, I know that the military. I mean, military men have their own insurance package. It's quite different from the average civil servant insurance scheme.
Yeah.
So is the fire service generally in Nigeria fighting for a different insurance policy?
That issue is being discussed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been discussed. A lot of things talking about, or states talking about that.
Okay.
The lives of firefighters to be insured.
Okay.
Again, the issue of the hazard allowance being paid to fire service. A lot of states trying to review it.
What will be the final words before we go?
Yeah, I will always say, fire safety management, fire prevention is everybody's business.
Okay.
While firefighting is for firefighters. Now we are entering dry season. People should try as much as they can to avoid anything that can cause fire outbreak.
Like what?
One, the dry season always comes with bushes.
Okay.
That is when we have bushfire. Mm-hmm. And again, when we're talking about bushfire, then the bushes around every home, every house should be cut at least 5-10 feet away from the building.
Okay.
So that if there is any fire coming through the bush, it will not spread to the homes.
Okay.
Then another thing is this: if you are using any electrical gadgets or electronics gadgets at home, please immediately it is not in use, you switch it off.
Switch it. Okay.
If it is to take their light, make sure you switch it off. When they bring it back, you switch it on to avoid power surge.
Okay.
Then those of them that are using cooking gas, please, very important. If you're using cooking gas, make sure the cylinder is always outside the kitchen.
Okay.
Not inside the kitchen.
Okay.
And again, if you go to church, school, work, office, market, once you come back, at least you try as much as you can to do what? To open the windows before you light anything.
Any gas.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we can take for you. So I want to thank you so much for coming on this program, enlightening everybody about this. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, so we can't take any more on the program. But join us next week, Wednesday, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock for Security Focus. And trust me, we will bring something enlightening and informative that will guarantee our safety. Thank you. All the callers. Speak to you next week, right? Okay, great.
Thank you so much.